afternoon. All right, we are live in all spaces, I believe, and I know that I was supposed to start this stream about 15 minutes ago, so forgive me for my delay. I'm Dr. Maisha. If you don't know who I am, I am the founder of the Mind ReMapping Academy, teacher of neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, and trauma-informed communication in corporate spaces with an equity lens. And today, I've been thinking about this for a while. What I want to talk about is what happens when the cause is not the cause, but only a symptom of the cause, and why we keep sometimes getting the same result. And part of that is when we look at the problems in our lives, when we're looking at the problems in our lives, and many of us, especially those of us who are steeped in personal development, who are looking for, well, what's underneath that? Like, what is underneath the this issue, this problem? We sometimes think we found a cause for the problem. And sometimes it's looking outside of ourselves. And sometimes we do find, okay, well, maybe it's because I did this, it's a doing, or I didn't have this, it's a have, or I was being or not being this way, it's a being. And those things can be problems on the surface, but what if they're just symptoms of a deeper issue? What if they're symptoms of a deeper set of programming? So, as an example, and I'm thinking of which example am I going to pull from today? I was chatting with someone, a friend of mine, and who was in the dating arena, and this person was sharing with me that they keep coming across people in their lives, and not just in the dating arena, but like in like friendships and in their interactions with colleagues. What's up, networking? In relationships with colleagues, with friends, that these people in their lives, they had this particular toxic interaction of people speaking to them in a certain kind of way, and them not speaking up and speaking up for themselves, right? But the question that they asked was, what is it about me, or who am I being or not being, that keeps attracting these kinds of people? Now, the way the question was asked was I meant to be introspective. However, what underneath that was a tone of self-blame, was a tone of like, there's something, what is wrong with me? That I had another similar conversation with a male friend who asked a very similar question. I seem to not be able to get things together in my career. I seem to be all over the place, and then I attract these certain type of people in my life who take, right? Who seem to want to gaslight me in every way. And sometimes that is, that the gaslighting piece, that's not necessarily the problem of the person being gaslit. But what the question he was asking was, what is it about me? Code, when a person says, what is it about me? That's a cue for me, right? That attracts da 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 da. So the symptom he was making, the things that were happening outside of him, there were a symptom, or there was something about him that was a problem, when in fact there is no necessarily problem with him per se, but maybe there was a bit of programming that has him interact with people in a way that continues to have him be in the same cycle. So when the symptom is just a symptom, i.e., him attracting or her attracting a certain kind of people. That's a symptom of a deeper issue. And generally speaking, when I look at deeper issues, I look at what is the programming when one is interacting with another? What is the programming that allows for people who are not healthy for us to be able to interact with us in an unhealthy way or to stay in our lives? What is the interaction? What is the programming in us that allows us to seek out or be attracted to, not to attract, but be attracted to the kind of people that get tied up, that we can get tied up into those unhealthy dynamics. And it's not a matter of a person's personal characteristic or rightness or wrongness or morality. It's more a product of what is the programming that's happening? What is the decision-making process? What is the belief about oneself that drives the programming, that drives the attraction, that drives the strategy, the internal mental sequence of decision-making that has us be attracted to certain situations or certain people? So, as an example, if you have, say, a mindset that there is something wrong with you or there's something wrong, that then you might be attracted to someone who is a fixer, who or who wants to control, or who wants to, who feels like, who treats you like a project. That may be what your mind unconsciously seeks out. Now, again, this is unconscious, and this is, sort of hypothetical. If you have specific questions, please put them in the chat. But if you have the programming that you don't have enough, then you might be attracted to certain situations that are only that give you only as much as you feel you're worth, and thus keep you in the space of not enough. But the decision-making process or the belief process could be, the programming underneath that could be that anything above that is above what you're worth, this reinforcing the attraction of not enough. So I'm just giving examples of how that plays out from thought to reality. And if you've heard me say this once, you've probably heard me say it a million times. And that is because of the reticular activating system, the pictures that we form in our minds are the things that we attend to create on the outside in our world. Where the attention goes, the energy flows. So if your attention is on lack and your attention is on what you don't have as opposed to what you want, then what the brain is going to be seeing and focusing on and attracted to is more of that. Now, the question is, well, what do you do about that then? And, there's no quick fix. There's never really any quick fix. And there are some things that you can begin to think about. So, of course, what you do about it is you got to start to think more deeply. Is the problem that I'm experiencing, and especially if it's a recurring problem, and this is really what I'm talking about, the recurring problems in our life, because a lot of times these problems that show up that are recurring problems, they may look like they're different problems, but there's the same problem with different faces and different presentations. So you may think you solved a problem in the area of relationships, but maybe that same problem of worth shows up in the area of finance. Or maybe you solved the problem in the area of finance, but it now shows up in relationships, or it shows up in family and having your voice be heard, right? So there are all kinds of ways that the same problem of, say, not feeling like you're worth something, or not feeling like, or the abundance versus lack conversation. There are a lot of ways that can show up. So when you start to look at the symptom, you start to look at, okay, the problems that I have in my life are what's the real cause? What's the underlying cause of that? What's the deeper root cause of that? Now it's sometimes we can begin to get at those causes, but oftentimes it takes working with someone else who can pull the things in your unconscious to the consciousness, someone who can um, pull your blind spot into your view, that can really help you to see what the deeper cause is, or help you to discover, I should say, what the deeper cause is. It's in the listening of other people sometimes that we find that deeper cause. Case in point, I had a conversation with a very good friend of mine who I love very much today, and she brought up something that was bothering her, and we talked it out. And I was still feeling a little, you know, bothered by it. I didn't realize it until hours later, and I had to talk it out to kind of discover what it was, because my irritation was a symptom, or my botheredness was a symptom. It's a mental symptom, was a sort of a physiological symptom. But I couldn't put my finger on, well, what's the cause? So then I was able to talk it through and have it brought to my awareness that the cause was something deeper, was sort of a deeper programming. And so now I'm able to like have that conversation with her real time and say, oh, okay, this is what I was experiencing that I couldn't put my words around. All right. So now as we're in our life, we're beginning to find the deeper cause, whether we can access it ourselves or whether we need to talk it out with others. And then we need to start to look at, well, we got that, we got the deeper cause, but now we got to go a little further. What is the outcome? How do we want to feel? What is the goal? How do we want to feel? What's the outcome that we actually want? And when we begin to think about that, it puts our brains in a different space, right? It shifts our attention from what we don't want, from what we lack, to what we want to create, right? So that's where we start to get into different territory. And then once we really get clear, we need to be specific about what we want. When we talk about goals, we talk about SMART goals. When I teach, coming up on my NLP training now. So it's it's like right there in my brain. And we just finished the 5-day challenge. And we talked about SMART goals, specific and simple, meaning like not multi-layered. Smart. Oh, meaningful and measurable, right? Needs to be specific and measurable. Something that you will know when you got that result, because you can measure it, right? Whether you measure it kinesthetically and feeling, I feel this way as opposed to this way. That is a measurement. We don't often think of that as a measure. We always think of measurements as numbers and dollars and cents, but we can measure our kinesthetics. Okay, so how would I measure when my concern with my friend is resolved? Well, I will feel kinesthetically, I will feel differently, right? I will feel a sense of settledness, a sense of calm. So then there is the action oriented and as if now, right? What does that mean? You want to state it in the now. You want to have that be action oriented, not something that's a passive goal. And then the R is responsible, meaning ecological, like how it impacts all areas of life, and realistic. And then time and toward what you want. All right. So these are the SMART goals. So you think about your outcome this way. What is it that you want? What is it that you want to happen, want to feel, want to see, what's the outcome that you want, instead of what you already are experiencing that you are, that is the symptom that you have. And then finally, or not finally, but the next thing is what are the resources that you already have? A lot of times we don't realize how many resources we already have at our disposal, internal resources that we have that maybe in that moment of experiencing the problem over and over, we may have forgotten. So we look at, well, what resources do you have and what resources do you not have? And the resources that you don't have, where can you get those resources? And when I mean resources, I mean like internal coping mechanisms or people to talk to, or, is there a skill set, a communication skill set that you need to learn, like reframing or state change, or is there an emotional release resource that you need? Like, what is it that you need in terms of resources in your life that will begin to get you to that new outcome that you want. Sometimes the resources we have internally, sometimes the resources we have internally, but we can't access. So we need someone to help us to be able to access that resource again. Sometimes we have resources, we forgot we had those resources, and we have to have people to remind us we have the internal resources that we need to resolve the problem. Sometimes we need external resources. Sometimes we need a friends, our community, to lift us up, to support us, right? So what are the resources that are needed? What are the internal resources and the external resources that you need to achieve that outcome? And finally, then you have the effects, and you want to enjoy those. So that's really what I wanted to chat about today, is this space of a lot of times thinking that the problems that we're having, especially the recurring problems, are, putting our fingers out there for the cause, when sometimes when we have recurring issues in our lives, looking a little bit at, well, what is the programming that has me attracted to this particular circumstances? What is the programming that's happening in my brain? Not as like something is wrong, not like that, but like, what is the programming that's happening that has me go on this path as opposed to that path? It's like if you program your GPS and you're programming the wrong address in, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go to the wrong address. If the address was 1118 Templeton Road, and you program in 1218 Templeton Road, you're going to end up at a different place. And so what do you need to change in that program? You need to put the right address in, do you not? You need to put the right address in so that you get to the right destination. And it's the same thing with our programming, right? We're programmed to move in a particular direction based on our upbringing, based on our experiences, based on our beliefs, our values, things that we've inherited, our conversations that we've inherited. We're programmed to go on a particular path. And when we realize we're on a path that we don't want to be on, then we can examine, well, what's programmed into us? And then look at, well, what do we need to program into us in order to get to the path that we want to get to the destination that we want to get to? And what are the resources we need to be able to program appropriately our brains? That's exactly what I do all day long. Reprogramming brains, reprogramming GPSs, right? Internal GPSs, so that you get to the destination you want. Teaching people how to reprogram your own GPS. Like, that's what I do 4 times a year. Teaching people how to reprogram their GPSs, their internal GPSs, so that you can get to a destination that you want, rather than continue to go down the road that you've already been programmed to go down, right? And so if you want to know more about that, of course, you can reach out to me directly. If you're on LinkedIn, you can just message me. If you're on Instagram, you can click my bio link and schedule a call with me, or you can message me directly as well. However, that's the work that I do, is help people to reprogram their minds so that they're getting their GPS is set to the direction that they want to go, and not their default direction that was installed in them and has been being unconsciously programmed by our experiences and leading us to a place that is less than what we want. So with that said, I'm going to bid adieu. I hope you found this useful. Please type in the chat if you did. Please, let me know what questions you might have, and I will be checking those. And next week I will be in my NLP training, so I will not be live, but there will be probably a best of somewhere on my podcast. But again, if you want to reach out to me and learn a little bit more about the programs that I offer, particularly the neuro-linguistic programming certifications, which, by the way, are now approved for, that they're now eligible for continuing medical education, and they're approved through the National Board of Certified counselors in BCC credits, continuing education credits. So if you're a counselor, therapist, if you're a physician, medical professional, pharmacist, nurse practitioner, PA who does CME credits, and you're interested, guess what? You can get credit for this. So looking forward to hearing any questions and comments. Otherwise, I will see you all in a couple of weeks. Have a blessed day and a wonderful rest of the week. Namaste.